Arnold just took my entire presentation. And this is a little creepy. I feel like I've got Tony Horton looking over my shoulder the whole time back here. I kind of go, really? Listen, I am really excited to be here. I'm thrilled. Most of you, many of you know, I'm Canadian, grew up and I don't just say that to suck up. I really am excited to be here. I've been in the States for a long time, but I had a real good friend that used to live in Edmonton. He'd always refer to where I lived as LA, Lower Alberta, which is for those that, so I tell people up there and they just kind of look at me like, what's, anyway. So as we get started, I'm going to tell you exactly where I want to end, okay? And we had a dinner last night with some of the diamonds and above, and as we were saying, what are we going to talk about? And for me, it's always this fluid thing, because you'll put a presentation together, you'll put your keynote presentation together, and then you'll start to get around. I'll get around the coaches, and I'll get around a different group, and there's a different vibe, and there's a different feeling, and then you go, why did I put those slides up there? Because I don't want to use those slides. I want to go somewhere different. So maybe these will work, maybe they won't. But here's what I told them last night. I said, I don't feel like I'm talking to the 700. I feel like I'm talking to maybe 10% of that group. 10% of that group that have come, that are kind of really looking, dipping their toe in, saying, should I, shouldn't I? I haven't made a decision yet. What do I want for my life? Where do I want to go? Does Beachbody line up with that? And so I hope today, as we have a few moments to talk, that maybe some of the things that I share will give you a little bit deeper insight as to who Beachbody is, what we represent, and why it might make sense. And if your values and your principles and your desires and my invitation to you is going to be, it may not happen here, but sometime this weekend that you'll go home, that you'll sit on the edge of your bed, that you'll look yourself in the eye and you'll have a discussion as to how you want the rest of your life to look like and what that can be, and if Beachbody should play a role in that. I want you, as a result of this day, to create a moment of choice, or a moment of truth, okay, that you'll make a decision. And maybe you're already, quote unquote, in, but if you're in, that I'd ask you to go home and say, can I be better, do better, as a result of what we've heard today and what the opportunity looks like. Now, Arnold, the thing is I've showed this to a bunch of people that have been to some of my presentations. I'm shameless about family. Family to me is why I do what I do. I control what I control. Well, I've realized I can't control my family anymore. And with 6 girls, you know you can't control girls. So, but this is how it started. This is my sweetheart, Joette. We've been married now, this will scare you, for I won't get it right, like 36 years, I think. And now when I say that, that's absolutely, I know, you've got to question her judgment, right? You got to say, she can't be all there. But because this is a business of duplication, we practice what we preach. This is as Arnold showed, and when Arnold was going to be shameless about showing his family, I quickly inserted the slides and say, I can one-up you, okay? And so, as he said, we have a great family. We have six daughters, and we have one son, Topher. We're going to talk a little bit about him in a few moments. And then what happens is they duplicate even more. And I think in this picture, I can't remember, it seems like I counted up before. In that picture, I think there's 20 of us. Okay, that was, I think, taken 2 summers ago. And then as life will happen, and as people get together, figuratively, literally, they get even more. And so this was a picture taken at my daughter's wedding. This summer. It was 2 days after Summit. So I went from Summit into a wedding that was at my place, and we have in that picture 3 more. So there's a total of 23 in the Hill household. But this is the driver for me. This is my legacy. This is what I get to work with, and the people that I get to, that I want to take care of, and that I want to imprint, if I can, to live better lives. And some way to carry on the legacy of who the Hills are in some way. But part of that is being in the right place, and for me to be in the right place, and to align my life in the right place so that I can have the greatest impact. And one of the things that I love most is that my kids are proud of where I work. They like who we are. You expect me to drink the Kool-Aid, right? You expect me to because I'm a corporate guy. But I do because I like it. But it's also reassuring to know that when your kids, and especially your daughters, I'm going to pick on girls all day today, when they're proud of it, that means something to me. So 6 years ago, Arnold already alluded to this a little bit. 6 years ago, I was working with another company. I got a phone call from a guy by the name of Brett Lake. Brett Lake was managing the network at that time. And we lived in a little place, we still live there, called Provo, Utah. And he was in Santa Monica where the corporate headquarters are. And as Brett called me, he said, Jeff, you really ought to take a look at Beachbody. He said, it's this new kind of starting company. They've got a network that's kind of fledgling right now. I think you'd really, really like it. Well, the truth of the matter at that time in our lives was that we had just moved back from Idaho, where I was in another job. We built our dream home. We'd got our two youngest kids into school. Financially and professionally, what we weren't going to do was move to California, okay, to Southern California. We were back in Utah, actually, and we absolutely loved where we were. We loved the neighborhood, and we just, everything about it we liked. And I said, Brett, that's great, but it's not a choice for us because we're settled. End of story. Well, he said, yeah, you ought to consider it. So anyway, he kept kind of dripping, kind of a testimony, if you will, testament to the fact that no never means no, right? So this was one of those stories where he started talking to me in, I don't know, it was early summer, late spring, early summer. And I just kind of blew it off and said, Brett, not interested. I'm really not, because we're not moving. And it wasn't a piece where I was trying to negotiate or trying to, anything more than that. It's just a fact of we weren't moving, okay? So he came back again, and he said, you really ought to take a look at this. And I go, Brett, we're not going to. And then he started to share these stories about, he said, Jeff, I can remember one day in particular, he was in Utah, and there's a place called Thanksgiving Point, and he said, come meet me for breakfast and let's chat. I thought, well, it doesn't hurt just because we're networking, right? And it's always good to have a friend. And so we sat down, and I'll never forget, he said, Jeff, he said, you would really like this. He said, here's why. He said, this is a company that's different than anything I've been part of. He says, this is not a business of network marketers, of MLM guys, fake it till you make it, of empty products, of empty promises. These are people that use the product, have gotten results in their life, that absolutely love it. It's a fledgling company, so to speak, or it's just kind of getting going, and you'd have an opportunity to put your fingerprints on this. But I think you'd really like it, and I think you'd really, really like Carl and the team, and an opportunity to be part of this. And it was like, it sounds really intriguing to me, but I'm not moving. He says, well, why don't you come down and just meet these guys? And I was like, it doesn't matter because I'm not moving. Well, anyway, he came back and he finally said, Jeff, just come down and meet these guys. So I finally thought, okay, I'll go down and meet these guys. Okay, because no harm, no foul, right? So trip to Santa Monica, that kind of a thing. So the night before I got there, or the night before I was going, Brett calls me up and said, what if we were to let you open offices where you live and develop your own team there? And would that change things for you? And I was immediately, well, that would be the game changer. That would change everything if you guys liked me and I liked you. And so anyway, long story short, went down, met with Carl, met with the executive team, and I'll never forget my discussion with Carl. I was sitting there, Carl didn't know me from Adam, and I really didn't know Deichler, is that how you pronounce it? Kind of it. And I sat in his office, and we were talking, and for those that don't know Carl has facial expressions, a little bit like he was on the video here. And as we sat down, we were just talking, and he said, I said the comment to him, I said, so as you look at growing this company, how would you grow it? And he said, well, how would you grow it? And I said, I know what I wouldn't do. I would not go out and chase down a bunch of network marketing people that are in it just for the money, people that are short-term, that are myopic, because the reason they come into the business is the reason that they'll go. And if they come in just for an opportunity for money, for the love of the products and the results that are created in their lives, they will disappear. And if that's your vision of how you're going to grow this, and that's okay, because some companies do that, I am not your guy. And he just then looked at me like, and didn't say anything. And then I thought, okay, well, there it goes. Anyway, and so I went home, and I guess the rest of the story is written. That was the moment that was the changer with Carl. I don't know if it was the changer, but it was kind of that moment with Carl that made the difference of, okay, this is the kind of people that we want on our team. And for me, this has been a remarkable 6 years. And then I had the opportunity to hire people like Arno and others who are talented, who are skilled, who are passionate, who love who we are as a company and know the business and can help you grow the business. Carl recently has spoken about this concept, and he did it leadership of believing what's in the box, what's in the Beachbody box, because so many companies out there, they're built on just shipping a product to a company, to a distributor, to a marketing executive, to their their beauty consultant or whatever they are, and the business is founded on the opportunity alone, and not really what's in the box. And how critically important it is to believe what's in the box. And you just heard us talking in this little video about the vital process. And that's a bit of a return to the beginning of where we were, because we felt like we've strayed a bit, of focusing on the importance of helping people get results, of creating the right kind of experiences. So if they want to stay on as a customer for the rest of their lives because they're getting results in their life, that's what we want. If they want to pursue a coaching opportunity because they love to share, they love to help other people, then that's what we want. But meet them where they're at, help them, support them, develop them, believe in the products. Kirsty talked about, Kirsty, thank you, Kirsty, right here, talked about the importance of completing a program, of doing a full program, because we know that's where results are created. Okay, it's not dabbling in the beginning of the program. It's not an a la carte piece where you dip your toe in and then go, and tomorrow I'm going to do this. We know these programs will work if you do them in their entirety. And that's where the belief comes from. That's where belief in the box comes from. And that's why we think it's so important to be part of a challenge group, to picking a program and to be completing that program. Right now we have Core de Force. I know I shouldn't say this because Tony's here, but we're launching Core de Force. And there is such an opportunity to create a story around that product or any other product. I had this great conversation with Amy Silverman, she's an Elite 10 coach, and she's on our coach advisory board. And she was telling me about how 3 years ago she did Insanity Max 30. I guess 2 years ago or 3 years ago did Insanity Max 30. And what she did is she used that product and she completed the program, and then she used the before and afters of that program for 2 years to help her build the business and to create the belief in that product. Sometimes we think that it's going to be just the product alone that's going to launch our business, but it is you being, as Arno said, the walking billboard of the person who's completed that. What you get from completing a program is confidence. You get belief. You understand what the journey is. And so hopefully, as you leave this weekend, you'll look at Core de Force, you'll look at 22 Hardcore, you'll look at any program that makes sense for you and make a determination to complete the program. Our business is really founded on this. This is what's in the box. It's based on fitness. It's based on nutrition. It's based on the peer support that you bring. And then, of course, for those that want the rewards, there's the rewards. But the real three legs of the stool are the fitness, nutrition, peer support that's so key. And that's what's in the box. And at the end of that, what that means is that we are helping real people who are getting real results because they're being provided real value. And if you provide those to people, out there that need what we have, you have a sustainable business and a long-term business. Let me tell you what belief in the box looks like. Some of you that were at leadership saw this. This is just kind of a how we stack up slide. But from the beginning, when we came in, you can see our growth. Last year we ended at about $860 million. And honestly, I could care less about, I care, but The numbers mean something because it means we're having an impact. And yes, you have to be making money as a company to further your mission of what you're doing. But if you look at that, that's a pretty impressive slide. Maybe what's more impressive on this is as you start to compare it to other companies that are in the industry, and maybe that's a little light for some of you back here that can't see it. But what we did is we took the publicly traded companies where we could actually get information, isolate their sales to what they're doing in North America. Well, it says US sales, that's actually a combination of US Canadian sales. But you can see some of these other companies out there where you've got your Herbalifes and Avons and those others that are there, been around for a long time, but only two that are above where we are in the United States. We are above where Herbalife is right now. And if you were to look at these other companies down there, you've got Tupperware, Nu Skin, I'm trying to read them myself, USANA, LifeVantage, Take Shape for Life. As a company, Team Beachbody has eclipsed those in sales. And that's, I think, kind of a remarkable thing. But here's the deal. It's also paved with little ups and downs. It's always paved with little ups and downs. You'll have an up month, you might have a down month, but you can see the continued trend. And my belief is if we continue to believe what's in the box, that there will be an opportunity that will continue to grow and continue to provide great opportunity for people. And I look at Canada as a market. The statistics, my guess is, remain the very same as they do for North America, where 2/3 of North Americans struggle with obesity. They struggle with being overweight. That means that you have 20 million people in Canada that struggle, that are looking for a solution, that need a solution. And that's where we come in. And if we meet people where they're at, if we help them believe what's in the box because we are believers what's in the box, and because selling and sharing is really nothing more than a transference of feeling that you've achieved because of what you're doing, that becomes contagious. Fitness, nutrition, peer supports, and awards. But as we're here today, I'm gonna switch now from the company to you a little bit, because you can't change the world unless you change your world. And I love this quote from Jiffy Lube, because although I'd love to change your world, can't do that, but hopefully we can change your oil today. Okay, and what that means is that the material that you receive, the information will help you see a little further, dig a little bit deeper, move a little bit faster, and make a decision as to who you want to become, what you want to become, when you're going to get there, and how you're going to do that. Because your life is going to be full of ups and downs. Your life is going to be full of challenges, and your responsibility is to tilt your life in an upward direction. That's your responsibility. And again, my hope is that we can be a bit of a conduit for how you do that. Now, there's a great story told of an old man in an old city in Europe, beautiful buildings and architecture that's phenomenal. And these tourists are walking through town, and they stop and see this old guy on the bench, and they say to him, it says, "This is like just a rich old city. Were there any great men born here?" And he looked at him and he said, "No great men born here, only babies." And his point was that everybody that was born here was a baby, and then people become great men. But what we want, we tend to be so impatient that we want everything now. But there's a journey. There's a journey that's required in order to achieve what greatness really is. And sometimes you just have to jump. This is one of my favorite quotes. Sometimes you just have to jump and build your wings on the way down. And I know a little bit about jumping. Okay, some of you might have seen this video before. As you look at the business, there can be a jumping off point where you have to make a decision to go all in. And all in can also mean that if you're jumping in part-time, that you can jump in part-time. I know Morgan's gonna talk this afternoon a little bit about being all in, even if you've got other demands in your life. But a little story. And I need Arnold to keep me on time as well, so I'll go on and on. But a few years ago, you saw my picture of my one son, and one of the traditions in our family is that my wife, Joette, would take all of our girls on a senior trip So they would kind of say, where do you want to go? And one of our daughters wanted to go to Hawaii, and some wanted to go to Europe, and one just wanted to go back east on an Eastern trip. And so she would take them on these trips. And I thought, well, I'm going to take Topher. Topher, it's Christopher, short for Topher. Topher, short for Christopher. I want to do something that's great with Topher. And I thought, I'd been to Africa before, and I thought, let's go do an Africa trip, okay? And we started talking about it. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we were to go over there, and what would we do? Well, we'd want to do a safari. And I thought, well, let's just not stop there. If we're going to go, let's go big. Okay, so and then I thought, let's go on a safari. Let's go bungee jumping from Victoria Falls Bridge, which is the highest commercial bungee jump in the world. And let's go great white shark diving in South Africa. I thought, we're going to do the three of them. Okay, and then I talked about it. And I talked about it. And I sat on it. And Topher is getting older. And we've got Summit. And we've got stuff happening in the family. And we've got excuses up the yin-yang, okay, as to why it's not going to be convenient. And then, talking about marrying up, Joette basically came to me and said, don't you dare not do this. You're not going to miss this opportunity with your son to go do this. We can afford it. We can make it happen. This will be one of the most meaningful things you do in your life. Don't you dare not do it. It's like, okay. So she actually put, so I mean, I don't claim like boy, I've got it all dialed in, because I don't, but so she got this trip, she got our flight, she helped us on this. So we put a trip together where we went over and had this remarkable experience in Africa where we saw things in a lifetime. We stayed in this tent camp that was so cool. It was like we were the only ones there, and we were treated like we were royalty. And it was just absolutely an amazing trip. Danced with the Maasai warriors, and he's like, Topher's dancing. We've got ones where he's like leaping. It was so fun. Anyway, but then that was in Kenya. So then we decided the next part of the trip was to fly from Kenya into Zambia to Victoria Falls to do this bungee jump, okay? And, again, it sounds really good on paper. Okay, yeah, who wouldn't want to? One of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and hey, yeah, I'm all that in a bag of chips. I got this thing dialed in, gonna do this, Well, then you get there, and you realize that this bridge is really tall, it's really high, and the only thing that's between you and the water below is this little cord that kind of holds you. And I've done kind of a cut down version of this little video, but this is what I like. As you come down to the bridge and you sign in, and you sign every waiver you could imaginably sign. And if you were to YouTube or Google Victoria Falls bungee jumping, one of the first ones that jumps up is about a woman from Australia where the cord broke and she fell. She survived. The crocodiles didn't get her. She was able to swim to the edge of the river, and climb out and be life flighted. And you're going, yes, my kind of a day, type of a thing. And then they come up and they put this on, and it's like, that's your weight, and who's going first, and I don't know why, first and second, and I honestly just think it was a body recovery system, and he said, oh, this is 85, number 2, we'll pick him up and ship him off. So anyway, but it was weight, so they'd know how big of a bungee cord to put on you. But it was this goal that we had. And so we get to the bridge. It's Sunday morning. If Tony Horton's here, I did this specifically for him. I was wearing my P90X shirt so I could write the trip off, hopefully. Carl didn't buy it. You can see down below. And there's a whole lesson that it'd be fun to go through just on the way they moved you through to get you to the point of jumping off. The system, and it's the power of systems, and how they kept you distracted, from looking down and talking to you, they know my whole genealogy, my favorite colors. So this was me putting on a brave face just before we went. And it was kind of, with Topher was sitting over here, I was on the bridge and I was ready to go, and I remember looking at him and going, this is really stupid. And I'm serious when I say that. There was a moment when I thought, this is really stupid. You know, what if kind of a deal. And then I thought, no, we said we're going to do this thing. And so here's what it looked like.
Oh my gosh.
Cool, man. Am I crazy? Am I crazy?
Oh my gosh. I can do it.
There's a longer video, it'd be fun to show, but it's what they do is they spider a guy down there that comes and picks you up because you're dangling upside down forever, you know, about ready to throw up. But it's amazing what happens and the thoughts that go through your mind when you're at the top. When you've set your goal on doing something and you say, yeah, on paper it looks good, I'm ready to jump, I'm ready to go. And then once you get right on the verge of that, there's that moment where you're kind of going, maybe not. And that's probably not too much different than the coaching experience. When you make that decision of, am I all in? Am I willing to jump? Am I willing to put myself out there? And these guys help. They kind of go 1, 2, 3, but it's like 1, 2, push. You know, because you're starting to lean back. But it's good to have people help. But it's probably no different than the coaching experience, that you have some of those same feelings. But it's also the thing that stands between you and the goals that you're pursuing. What does jumping look like? It really does mean that you're making a decision. And to realize that not everything is created equal in what you're jumping after and the things that you have to do. At Summit, I talked just a little bit about the Pareto principle and focusing on the behaviors that will give you the greatest results in your business. This morning, we've talked just a little bit about the vital behaviors. We've talked about the vital process. As you jump, really what it looks like is jumping into a program and completing a program. That will give you some of the greatest results that you can get in your business. And it's not just the physical. It's just not the physical results. It is the emotional, the intellectual, the proof, the relatability with other people. That's where the money is, in your ability to share that journey and create an experience for other people. It's about then sharing and bringing people into challenge groups and learning how and being willing to fall down. You know, this is your life that you've got to tilt up. It's your life. No one's going to build this business for you. Last night at our dinner table, we talked a little bit about, I'm always a question asker, and I ask the questions of, so why are you doing this? Really, why are you doing this? What's the driver? Because it's not an easy business. It can be a tough business where every morning you pull yourself out of bed, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and deal with people that might reject you. And people around you might say, why are you doing this? To stand between you and your goals. And Jamie used the word grit last night. And it's kind of interesting because I just started reading on the plane out here a book called Grit. By an author by the name of Angela Duckworth. And this intangible comes down to these two pieces of what is grit? What does it look like? Grit really is a couple of things. It's passion about what you do. What gives you passion? Is it helping people? Is it helping your family? Is it relationships? Is it creating results? I don't know what that remarkable, magical, sparkable thing is in your life, but if the passion lines up with who we are as a company, then maybe that's one that you can check the box. And then maybe the second part, which is tougher, is perseverance. But your perseverance and your willingness to push through, to keep going, to keep when Joan Crocker was talking about doing Insanity, and she said, some mornings I cried. Some mornings I cried. But it's her vision of what can be. And you know, the challenging part for us sometimes in life, I think, is that we let the short term determine our future. We let the chaos and the uncertainty of what's happening right now shape what will be down the road, instead of using our long term, our vision of what can be, who we want to be, to drive how we behave today. One's a reactive approach and one's a proactive approach. And if you're not clear on your vision, my challenge would be get clear on your vision. Get clear on what the long view is. Because if you're clear on that, what will happen then is in the short term with the uncertainty, you'll behave, think, and act differently. If you don't know what the what the long view is, what the long-term vision is, then in the short term, you will act on a short-term basis and do short-term things and temporary things that may not, probably won't align with where you want to go long term in your business. It's this great poster most of you have seen. Everyone wants to be successful until they see what it actually takes. And that becomes that moment of truth again. Okay, some of you have heard this story. Arno, I'm almost wrapping up. Am I good? Arnold's going to let me tell this story. Okay, just wrapping up. I'm going to tell this little story, show a little video, and I'll be out of here. My favorite daughter. People, whenever I put that up there, people always go, we should report you to the Division of Family Services. A good father never says that kind of a thing. So this is Erin. Erin's my number 2 daughter. Erin is a remarkable young woman. She's a mother of 3 now. She's a labor delivery nurse. Nothing comes easy to Erin. Maybe some of you can relate to this. It just seems like nothing comes easy to Erin. A number of years ago when we lived, I'm going to take you back in time a little bit. We had lived in Utah. We got a job offer to move to Idaho. And the long story short of this is that we really believed that it was the right thing to do, professionally and from just all the way around. Although we loved where we were and our kids were integrated in the schools there, we felt like it was the right thing to do. But Erin's the type of a girl that she's kind of the catalyst in the family. I mean, you got mom and dad who are the leaders, if you will, but she was the one that set the altitude of the attitude in the family. She's the one that could bring people together. I could kind of make them come. She could get them to come. Because of who she was, and we knew that this move would impact Erin more than anyone else, being a 16-year-old girl that was going to be, leaving in 11th grade, grade 11, junior year, however you want to say that, and leave from all of her friends, because this was an all-for-one, one-for-all family kind of a deal. So it was about this time, well, it was in the 1st of December, and we'd made a commitment, we'd had an offer, we'd made a decision that we were pretty much going to move. We'd flown the family up to where we were going to be moving to. It was this family thing, and it was this discussion of, okay, I needed to talk to Erin and kind of say, Erin, we need you in on this. We need your support. We need your leadership on this. And I'll never forget the day when I went and got her, and drove down University Avenue in the car, picked her up from her friend's home, got her in the car, and it was going to be the discussion, not that discussion, this other discussion. And I said, Erin, I said, so we've looked a lot at this opportunity. We've kind of pulled it inside and out. It feels like it's right. We like the people. We like what they represent. We like the way they do things. We think this is going to be really, really good for us. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be good for us. But we need you in on this, because we really do think it's the right thing. And then the car went quiet, and you could just hear the tears start to roll down this little 16-year-old girl's face. And then she just looked at me and she said, Dad, it may be the right thing, but it's the wrong time in my life. And it was, what can you say? What can you do? Because I mean, honestly, she was right. It sucked. For her, it didn't make sense. And I just said, Erin, we just need you. We need you to be part of this. And we didn't say anything else. We got home and got into, this is so vivid for me still. We pulled into the garage, she ran into the door, into the family room, and the door slammed, and I came in, and Joelle looked at me, and her words were, "What did you do this time?" You know, and it was like, I have a long-standing history. And I says, I'm just talking to Erin about this move, and that we needed her in on this. And it was hard. And then I learned this invaluable lifelong lesson from this little 16-year-old girl the next day. I was getting ready for work, and Erin came in to me, and uninvited, but she just came in on her own, and she said, "Dad, you know, last night when we were talking about this move, and that it was really the right thing," she said, "I know it's the right thing, and I'll choose to make it the right time in my life." And this little 16-year-old girl did exactly that. We made the move. It wasn't easy, but she was the catalyst because she made a decision to make it the right thing. And because of her decision, that impacted our family, and it impacted her siblings, where they got integrated and their lives became better. And the end of the story was, after that year, she actually moved back and graduated, stayed at some great friend's place, and graduated, and it worked out, and that was the right thing. But it was all because of a decision of a young woman who found that something was the right thing to do and then chose to make it the right time. I'm going to suggest to you, just as we started this discussion, that as you look at where you are, as you look at where you are in your Beachbody journey, as you get a feel for who we are and for who you are and what you represent and where your values are and your principles and what your long view of life is, that if it aligns with who we are, if it makes sense for you, really, and that's where it's going to take the work for you to really see. And it doesn't matter age, shape, ethnicity, money or no money, or whatever. I think that there's an opportunity for people. And if that lines up for you, the thing I know is that it will never be the right time until you choose to make it the right time. So my challenge is, make that decision. And then when you make that decision, jump, because you will figure it out. There's great people. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You've got great corporate support. You've got great support around you. Everything you need is there for you to be successful. No one can take away your ability to choose. Last story, and I'm done, Arno. We're leaving a mark on people's lives. I'm doing this because Jamie told me he liked this, so I'm going to share this. So, part of this is a business, and part of this is leaving an impression, is changing people's lives, and the ability to do little things that I think create legacies and help people. And a number of years ago, this is actually when we made that move, we moved up to Idaho. A lot of times I'd get up in the morning early and I'd be gone, and I just thought, man, I'm not saying goodbye to my kids. I'm gone for the weekends, you know, sometimes, and I'm not saying, what can I do? What can I do as the leader of the family to leave a mark, to somehow let my kids know that the last thing that I was thinking about before I left in the morning was them, so that they know, if nothing else, if I were to disappear on that trip, they would know that their dad was thinking about them and that he loved them and cared about them. So I just got this crazy harebrained scheme. I went and got a Sharpie, a little black marker, and every morning when I would leave, when I would be traveling, I'd go down into their bedroom. If it was at 5 o'clock in the morning, or before they were awake, or if they were awake, I'd go down and grab their hand, and I'd put a little X and O on their hand. And it was like stinky breath, slobbery, you know, hair, all that kind of stuff, the whole 9 yards. And then over time, it just became this tradition of, when I'd tell them I was leaving, they just knew that the hand would come out, they'd get the X and O, and they'd go back. But that has become a tradition in our family now. Still a tradition whenever we leave. The last thing that happens is we leave this little mark on them, to hopefully leave them better, to let them know that we're thinking about them, that we're improving people's lives. This is a business about shaping and touching people's lives. With all the stuff, I know you guys aren't in the States, I mean, you're witnessing the carnage down there right now, but there is so much negativity and there is so much uncertainty, but I refuse to give in to that. I just refuse to give in to that. I think we control the controllable and we control our own attitudes, we control our own circle of influence and what we can do. And there's nothing that stops you from choosing and touching people's lives in a positive way. And this is a little video I put together. I'm just gonna end with this, Arno, and I'm walking off the stage. So this is a little video called Leave Your Mark.
All right, Edmonton. Peter, a little bit higher, please. I want you guys to get your cell phones out right now because it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime picture. So everybody get your cell phones out. Can I have Jeff Hill back to the stage, please? Make some noise for Jeff. I'm telling you, you guys want your cameras, you want your phones out because it will be once in a lifetime. It is scary. Don't fry bacon naked. All right, so we're going to help him with that. So, Jeff, on behalf of Canada, the Edmonton Market Council, and Edmonton, we like to present this as a thanks, a token of our appreciation. And the secret is, or the trick, you got to put it on right now. You have to put it on right now. Or it is a bacon protected something. I don't want to give it away, but have your phones ready because it's going to happen and we all know why.
Fantastic.
So from this point to the end of the day, he is no longer called Jeff Hill, he is called McJesus.
There's some Calgary fans out there.
We love Calgary, by the way.
Oh, maybe I should hurry.
I hope it's not an extra small.
I just made the extra big. All right, I love this.
Edmonton, make some noise for Jeff Hill. Thank you. Please welcome to center stage our